mistakes that the Europeans have made. Okay? Now, the third part of your question is Venezuela.
There you go.
You know, the Dutch and much of Europe are actually supporting our strategy.
Of course.
What do you mean, of course?
They always support the United States.
No. Well, I wish that were the case. I can give you a litany of places where the Dutch are not supporting
No.
the United States. No, let's be serious. You're laughing,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Foreign policy is hard,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
I'll give you one example of where Europe screwed up.
Yeah.
Libya,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So let's admit that foreign policy is hard and that getting rid of despicable dictators, we in the West have not exactly figured out how to do that. And I think the Dutch, others in Europe who have allied in terms of trying to get rid of Maduro, thought that Maduro would have been long gone by now. Okay? So I think rather than, saying, America, you're all screwed up, it's maybe time for the West, Western Europe, and the United States to take a realistic look at how we get rid of these despicable people who inflict total hardship on their people, and how do we do this successfully in the future, because the last 10 or 15 years have been marked by considerable failures. Iraq, Libya, Syria, Venezuela, all of them. And that is probably a better discussion, and one that...
You don't defend the Bush aggression of Iraq.
What's that?
You defend the Bush war in Iraq?
Did I say I defended the Bush war? Did I just say, no, it's serious, but I want you to listen. Did I say that Iraq was a success?
No, you mentioned
I mentioned 4 what I consider things that have not quite turned out the way that we hoped.
Yeah.
All right? Iraq, Libya, Syria, Venezuela, and there are more. I don't think that is a round and hard endorsement of the Bush strategy in Iraq.
Next question.
Okay?
Next question. Next question. Anyone for next question?
I'm usually much nicer, but sometimes people just get under my, or the questions, not people, questions get under my skin. And I will defend America, and I will also admit when we were wrong. And there will also be occasions where we disagree, where we may have been successful or we have been wrong. Okay?
Mr. Ambassador, thank
Yes.
you very much for taking your time to come and spend it with us. I enjoyed your speech very much. And actually, as you said, we're here to talk about our islands and our relationship between the U.S., Netherlands, and the Dutch Caribbean. So I'd like to take it back towards there, maybe keep it with the Venezuela, but we have a lot of refugees coming into our islands at the moment, and we already have on ourselves quite difficulty managing our own people financially. Is there a way that, because we have such a great, relationship between the U.S. and the Netherlands, that we can find a better solution to help these islands support the refugees coming on our island?
I'm not an expert on the refugee situation, other than I know that at least in Curacao, we're approaching a point where 10% of the population now on the island are recent refugees from Curacao, from Venezuela. And I think the numbers may be very similar for Aruba. And I don't know exactly where it is, but this is one where the international community needs to maybe be taking a look at how we provide the financial assistance into these islands to support the camps. Well, there are no camps, okay? For most of the people that are coming in, they come in and they integrate and they blend into the population, and it's more difficult, or it's very difficult to find them. And so I don't think, we talked a little bit about the refugee situation when I was there, and that there are issues. At least from Curacao, there was not a specific request for additional assistance, just asking for the recognition that the problem is there. And I think that if the Dutch government, either from Curacao or from here, put out a request for us, different kind of assistance to help with the refugees, it is a request that the United States would very seriously consider. When the Prime Minister was in Washington in July, David Van Weil, who's his foreign policy advisor, and myself, we had the opportunity at that time to meet with John Bolton to talk about this. And I think you would get the same type of high-level consideration if there was a specific request for help.
I hope this comes in the press.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a last question? No?
Yeah,
Yeah,
here.
Mr. Bolfied.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for your nice presentation. I have a very short question. You just mentioned that in the strategic perspective of the Caribbean basin, etc., that there are others who try to have inroads, I think you used that word, and you mentioned China.
Yep.
My question to you is, what about Russia and Russia's role in the Caribbean basis, but of course also in the Netherlands, the Russian role in the influence in Western Europe, Europe in general, and in the world, in fact, in general.
That's what I thought. I thought, well, this is gonna be a softball meeting. Come meet with a bunch of people from, with ties to the Caribbean, when we go to the Caribbean, and I knew I made a mistake. There was probably more than one this week, because I was in a rush. There was a short time for lunch, and so the waiter said, what would you like? And I ordered it, and I said, if you can get this to me in a hurry. And he walked away. I thought that was a big mistake. Number one, this is the Kingdom of the Netherlands, and the Dutch are not necessarily known for their great service. And I'm in the Caribbean. This is not going to turn out well. So a half hour later, when I was running out of the hotel, they ran and gave me a to-go box for my lunch. So I did get food. Russia. Russia's key play in right now is the role that they're doing to prop up Venezuela. Strategically, we don't see Russia as the same kind of economic threat that we see coming from China. Okay, they just don't have the resources. They're a small economy. They have a tremendous ability to meddle and create problems. Maduro probably would be gone right now if Russia wasn't propping him on. Obviously, they're creating the Ukraine, Georgia, and these types of things. They will meddle in, sometime in the next 15 months when you have an election, they will meddle in your election. They will provide disinformation. Who knows what else they may try to do, but there are other countries that will do the same thing. And I spent 10 years on the Intelligence Committee. This is not new, except the tools that people like Russia and Iran can do to create problems in each of our countries are much more powerful than what they ever were before in terms of sowing discontent. America has, we're confronting China. We want to trying to get Russia to change its behavior. That's why, we put sanctions on and those types of things. In many cases, Europe has been very, very supportive of that process. There are, so we believe that in the long term, Russia behavior and become a more positive player in Europe. But we don't necessarily believe that will happen under Putin. And so that's our strategy. The disappointing thing on that is, we get support from a lot of Europe on a lot of those steps. But one of the ones that we think is absolutely critical, we would have hoped that Nord Stream 2 would not have been built and completed. It's going to be completed. You're going to have gas flowing, relatively soon in terms of, and what that's going to do, it's going to drive a lot of revenue into Russia. It's not going to, propel them up into the ranks of, an economic superpower, but it's going to give them resources to create more mischief in places where we'd rather not have them have the money to create mischief. And so it doesn't give you the answer in terms of how we actually solve the problem with Russia, but it gives you the scope of how big of an influence we think they can be, and they can be a significant problem and an irritant, but not to the scale long-term that we face from China.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador.